All right, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm texting with Tiffany. Hold on. Okay, I'll type. All right. First time logging on as KW West Ashley. So, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I actually totally zoned out and forgot that I could do it in person, to be quite honest. Because I taught the buyer presentation on Zoom this week. It's like I just forget that I need to go in the office. And then when I realized it this morning, I was like, I can't. But anyway, what was I going to ask? Oh, I also got to get to a place where the process of Zoom in the office is not nearly as chaotic. Like, I don't love the hybrid, not because of the people, but because of the way the technology is, the way that it's like hooked up over in that corner. I got to figure something out. I need to go in on a day and work through it with Kristen and just be like, how do I do different? But anyway, while we're waiting for other people, you and I can chat. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
I'm pretty sure that Vince knows that he's doing the MREA series. Yeah, there he is.
Did you get nervous?
Yeah, I think he was on the state of the company first.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just saying, I think you're in a different time zone, aren't you, Vince?
No, I'm still on the East Coast, Lynn. It's just Boston.
Oh, that's right. It's Chicago. That's a different hour. Geography is not my strong suit.
I love it. It's awesome. Awesome. Do we record this, Lynn, so that we can?
It is recording. See
Awesome.
that. I've logged in as Tiffany, as you can tell. I think
I should have called you Tiffany.
Moving forward. Let me ask you, Vince. Is it your expectation that in every MREA series moving forward, it will be in person with a hybrid with people being able to watch, or are you going to always do it Zoom?
I think we could we're doing it Zoom today. I guess we should communicate that. I would say most likely it's always going to be a hybrid. So that way, if there's people in the office, we can shoot a text real quick to Kristen and have her turn it on in the training room if need be. But I would say it's probably always going to be a hybrid.
Well, Jeremiah went thinking I'd be there. Was anyone in the room with you while you were waiting, Jeremiah? Oh, he looks like he's frozen.
Yeah.
No, I was by myself, which was totally comfortable. So.
Say that again?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes. I asked, was anyone in the room with you?
No, I was all by myself.
Okay, so that means no one's probably sitting there waiting for us to do it. Dominic, where are you? It looks like you're in your car as well.
He's frozen too. Oh, there he is.
Okay. So clearly, in the office.
I was at my mom's. I didn't went to the office today.
Perfect.
Well, what I want to do, Vince, is I need to figure out how when I go in that I don't have to stay trapped in that corner. I don't want to walk around. I've just got to move. We need to get a longer cord so I can talk to everyone and not have to constantly do this. So
yeah, that's the point of the microphone. We'll get that set up.
Maybe you and I can work on that, or I'll work on it with them on Monday if I come in to see you.
100%. So so today's the organizational model, right? And I think this will be really good because the whole idea, and we'll have this recorded too, that way we can utilize it, Lynn, when from the standpoint of in the future or as a resource, because I'm going to go through a different way of thinking about what we're all doing. We're all here to make money. Money is good for the things that it can do. And we got into business to create a profit, right? And we can just be totally honest about that. And the way that we create that profit is help people, right? Money is simply a byproduct of value given. So if we, and it's an agreement, money is simply an agreement. It is an agreement that I'm going to do X and you're going to pay me Y. And if we operate on that assumption, then we can figure out how we can bring more value in shorter amount of time so that we can increase our dollar per hour and help more people. So what we're going to talk about today is the organizational model, but I want to think about the organizational model from the standpoint of increasing my dollar per hour. Most of the time we think about real estate in this idea of GCI, gross commission income, right? Hey, Lauren.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Hey.
We think about it from the standpoint of, all right, I sold this house for $333,000. I charged 3% and I earned 3%. I got a check for $10,000. Well, based on the budget model that we talked about last week, we know that we didn't actually earn $10,000, right? When we earned probably a percentage of that because we had a cost of sale, we had expenses, the whole 9 yards. We also had time invested. When we think of it though, from the standpoint of how much time did I invest in that particular activity to sell that house, so that, and what was my hour worth, then I can figure out whether I'm okay with that or whether I want to increase it into the future. And the organizational model is about increasing the amount of money we take home through people and succeeding at a higher level through people that are then taking that activity off of our plate, which ultimately increases our dollar per hour and allows us to help more people buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Does that kind of make sense? Awesome. So I'm going to work us through an exercise, and I know a couple of us are driving and I don't have a whiteboard, so I'm going to do my very best with this. Because I'm in Boston, good old Boston, and it's cold up here, by the way. I'm in a long sleeve shirt. So,
Yeah, you haven't left that room, have you? It's too cold.
No, I was looking for a winter jacket. I don't have one. I think my wife and her best friend who were visiting, they just went for a walk with the dog. So I hope they're all bundled up. So here's what we're going to do. I want to think about dollar per hour. If we go on page 159 is where the organizational model starts. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty of who do I hire and why do I hire. But I want to get into the nitty gritty of what's my dollar per hour, how do I increase it, and why. Eventually we get to a space where we need to either add systems, tools, or people to our business so that we can do more in less time. Ultimately, what we're always trying to do is more with less time invested, therefore increasing the amount of money we're making each hour. We always are paying for things in two ways, money and time. And we're usually using one to buy the other. Think of it from this perspective. When I get into the business as a newer agent, what do I have more of? Do I have more money or do I have more time? You have more time. Yeah, I saw it, Lauren. We have more time. When I'm selling 50 units a year, do I have more money or do I have more time? I have more money, right? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, what I'm going to do is when I'm a newer agent, I'm going to invest that time so that I can make more money, right? Maybe I'm going to do something active. I'm going to go and door knock. I'm going to go and call FSBOs and expireds. I'm going to go and sit an open house. And by doing that, I'm going to do what? I'm going to use that time to increase my money. As a agent that's doing 50 units, what am I going to do? I'm going to use money to add leverage to my life through systems, tools, and people, specifically in the organizational model, people, so that I get more time back, right? That's the key. We're always just moving back and forth on this pendulum of time and money. So I want everybody. Okay. What was that? Balance and counterbalance. Yes, thank you, Lynn. That's awesome. Balance and counterbalance. By the way, most of the time, an agent that's selling 50 plus units, they want the time back, but it's not usually to create more business. It's usually to create more personal time Because here's the key: when I get my time back and I buy my time back, so to speak, what I get is a choice. I get the choice to either invest that time back into my business to increase my GCI or increase my profit, maybe increase my lead generation and my dollar producing activities, or I get that time to go and walk the dog or spend time with my wife or whatever it is, spend time with friends and family, or travel to Boston, right? For a wedding, right? You get the time back. So that's the key in what we're talking about from an organizational model standpoint. Most of the time we're asking ourselves one question: when do I have to start to buy my time back? It's when you are doing all that you can, but you can't do anything else, then you have to hire administrative help. That's the key. And again, you can go through this on page 159 of the organizational model. So I want everybody to, let me see, I'm going to try something goofy. Do you know how to allow me to share a screen or not?
All right.
Are you the host? I think you are.
Yes.
Nice. So go to participants and then see my name, click more, and then click make co-host. Nice. Way to go, man. So I want to see if this works. This might work, might not. I'm going to draw. Can everybody see this whiteboard?
See how he does.
Yeah.
Vincent Van Gogh.
This is going to be so bad, but we're going to rock with it. So this is going to be awesome. I make myself chuckle sometimes, so just bear with me. So, and I try new things to see whether it's going to work in the future or not. And this is one of those things. So I'm going to draw a box. Whoa, look at this. It's working. Lynn, you're funny. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, each one of these on the left, those that are driving, you might not be able to see, but each one of these is going to be 10 hours.
There are 5 boxes, people.
Yep, 5 boxes, each of them 10 hours.
I use the word box loosely.
Yeah. Yeah. Dominic, don't crash. I'm going to make you laugh. It's going to be great. And you're going to try to look at this and bad things could happen. So
a column of boxes.
A column of boxes. So 10 hours each box. Here, NARs, the National Association of Realtors, says that each transaction is typically about 50 hours. We can get into the weeds and we can say they take a lot longer, they can take a lot shorter. Of course they do. The answer is yes. The concept though here is we want to just break down how many hours typically on a real estate transaction. On average, again, NAR says it's 50. And where am I spending that time? And what is my dollar per hour at the end of the day? So I'm going to draw another goofy thing. This is
a transaction typically takes 50 hours. I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah, typically they say that the average transaction is 50 hours.
Unless it's a buyer in this market.
So, okay, great.
And it's 150 hours.
It's 150 hours. And I'm going to tell you right now, Lauren, I know that you're a buyer's agent on the team. Go to page 102. And one of the things in the MREA, and one of the things they talk about there is how taking listings is a more leveraged activity. And it's specifically because of showing not just specifically, but one of the reasons is because showing property takes massive amount of time. Now go to Lynn's buyer consultation class and learn about the scripts you can utilize so that you can become more efficient in that process and set the standards and expectations with your clients. No, I'm not going to show you 30 houses. And here's why. We're going to whittle them down to these 10, or we're going to whittle them down to these 5. Now, in this market, do things change? Absolutely. And I'm oversimplifying. Yet scripts and dialogues can help with that and focusing on listings. But you're right. In this market, more than 50. So
and the thing is let me ask, I know this is not the focus of this class right now.
This is good.
I want to learn, okay, so the 50 hours, prior to going under contract, or it's from beginning to end?
Yeah, I believe it's from, I think it's from the cultivation of that lead to to the close, something along those lines. I think is what they're calling it.
Right, because here's the thing, though, the thing about my class and about anyone who has a thorough consultation with any of their clients and sets the proper expectations, what people sometimes forget is if they have a streamlined system and they also have a lot of good communication, like my canned emails that set the tone every week. I'm not on the phone problem solving stupid mistakes because I don't have a lot of them. Because every week I'm saying who needs what, where are we? Here's the addendum, where are the signatures? So anyway, also you got to keep in mind when you're on the phone solving problems or talking to the broker because you're in a bind. I don't waste that time because I have very few issues in my transactions.
Exactly. And what you're doing also is you're creating efficiency based on what you've done in past deals so that that consumer experience is the same every time.
Right.
It is so important. What separates the top agents from those that are working to get to the top is the fact that the systems, tools, and people that they have are more efficient, simply
Right.
more efficient and more effective. So I love that you shared that. I want to remember there's only three parts. You're going to hear me say this all the time. There are only three parts to the real estate transaction, with all due respect. Not to take away from the value of a real estate agent at all. That's knowledge, advice, and service. Yet within that knowledge, advice, and service, there are three segments to the transaction. It's lead gen, follow-up, and transaction management. Lead gen, follow-up, and transaction management. The way that we fix any problem in those spaces is simple. We ask ourselves, what's the system that we're using? Is it the right system? Is it the wrong system? Do we have to actually use the system, right? What's the system? What are the tools that I'm using to create effectiveness and efficiency in that system? Are they the right tools? Are they the wrong tools? Am I using the tools? And then number three, who are the people in that space utilizing and running those tools to create effectiveness and efficiency in those systems? And are they the right people, the wrong people, or am I missing people? Very, very important. And what we're talking about here is we're going to start to talk about ways that we can start to add people to our organization once our budget model says we should. There's your caveat in your hedge. In order to create more effectiveness and efficiency in the systems that we're running. We're making every decision in our business based on where the gap is, right? So if I have a gap right now in follow-up, then I'm going to ask myself, what are the systems that I'm using? What are the tools, and who are the people? So let's keep on going. So I drew this little target down here. In the middle, we've got a dollar sign. It's the dollar producing activities. This is how we should all be thinking about what we're doing on a daily basis. By the way, we all have a very, very important piece in this puzzle. We get to choose where we spend our time. It's the most important thing. You got into business and you get to choose every day where you spend your time. What I would encourage you to do is, if you don't like the amount of money that you're making right now, make choices that are more in line with the dollar producing activities that change the result. What are the dollar producing activities of a real estate agent? Does anybody know?
Lead generation.
Boom. I'm going to tell you right now, the answer to every question at Keller Williams: lead generation mindset. Right? Lead generation and mindset.
Yeah.
And you can, and I know I say it in jest, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. You can fix anything with those two things.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
They're not wrong. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, one of the things they talk about is that we have two jobs. Every business is servicing and lead generating. That's all we're doing, right? We're servicing and we're lead generating. We're all lead generators. So we have dollar producing activities. The organizational model, I apologize. The organizational model is all about figuring out what to start to give up so that we can get our time back, right? We're always going to start with giving up things that are furthest from the dollar producing activities. And the reason for that is because, well, they're the cheapest to give up. And because from a logical standpoint, we never want to give up the thing that we should be best at, and that's lead generation. So that says EA. In the organizational model, I
Did
know.
you really go to like talking and then drawing?
It's horrible when I know.
This is fascinating.
I'm just trying something new. Who knows? This might be the last time we ever see this.
You're doing great. It's kind of funny watching your face talking while you're drawing. It's like someone's life is on the line somewhere.
Yeah, this is very, very nerve-wracking. So you've got your EA. 80%, and I want you to kind of write this down and remember it. 80% of the real estate transaction. By the way, what's 80% of 50? It's 80% of 50. It's 40. That means 40 hours of the real estate transaction can be done by a non-licensed individual. Think about that. 80% of the real estate transaction can be done by a non-licensed individual. That means 40 hours. I'm in 40 of the hours that I'm in a real estate transaction don't actually have to be done by me as the licensed individual. So potentially the dollar per those 40 hours are obviously going to be dollar producing or not dollar producing activities, less dollar producing activities. So is my dollar per hour in those 40 hours going to be higher or lower than the dollar per hour that I'm spending doing a dollar producing activity like lead generating? It's going to be much lower. And when I'm doing something, I'm always asking myself the question, am I making $500 an hour? Now that's the number that I picked. It's based on a lot of different things I'm not going to get into. I actually ran the math for myself, but am I making $500 an hour doing this? And if the answer is no, I have to ask myself, is there a system that can create efficiency in this if I'm the only one that can do it? Or is there a person that can do this that's cheaper? And I don't mean to be so blunt, but is there a person that can do this that's cheaper? And that actually saves me money. And here's the funny part. Most of the time, that person is probably way better at doing that activity than me. And that's really, really important to remember. So again, I'm going to come back here and I made a couple of big points there, but here's our 10K. This is GCI. Whew, 10K. So if I am doing a real estate transaction, I've already identified that it's 50 hours. 50. What's my dollar per hour? If I made $10,000 on that check and I worked 50 hours, what's my dollar per hour?
You know, I'm not good at math in my head.
What's 10,000 divided by
200.
200?
200.
So I just made $200 per hour. Good job. I'd be happy with that, right? We're all happy with that. $200 an hour is better than $20 an hour, right? $200 an hour. Remember, when I say yes to something, I'm saying no. Yeah, when I say yes to something, I'm saying no to a lot of other things. When I say yes to 40 hours of work that could be done by somebody that's making $20 an hour, right? When I know I could be making 200, and I say yes to that, what am I saying no to? For 40 hours, I'm saying no to $200 an hour. I'm saying yes to $20 an hour. Interesting way of thinking about it, right? Very interesting way of thinking about it. So the organizational model is not about making less money. It's about making more money in less time. So if I know that right now as an individual agent, and this is going to be really good for you, Lauren, but as an individual agent, I'm making $200 an hour. If I have the same 10K and I hire an admin, okay, I'm going to work my way from here to here from a hiring standpoint. Okay. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to give up the tasks that are furthest from the dollar producing activities. This is the organizational model. I'm just talking about it in a different way. So I'm going to hire an admin first. That admin, sometimes it looks like a TC to be totally honest, a transaction coordinator. But I'm going to hire this individual and I'm going to pay them I'm going to pay them $20 an hour because I want talent. By the way, you have to pay for talent. I want talent. I'm going to pay $20 an hour if I give up that, how many hours am I giving up? I'm giving up 20. These 20 here. I don't know how to show this, but I'm going to give up these 20 hours. So now I have to pay that admin 20 hours. So I'm going to pay that admin $400. That's 400. Okay. We're with me. 400. So I take my 10,000. I paid my admin $400. That's 20 hours at $20 an hour. What am I left with? I'm left with 9,600, right? Whoa. At $9,600. Here's the kicker. How many hours did I work?
30.
Yes. So if I do 9,600, by the way, here's what's funny. Is 9,600 less than 10K?
Yeah, but you made $320 an hour now.
Exactly. Is
Look
that
at all
not
that math.
ridiculous? Is that not crazy? So I now divide that thing by 30. You said how much an hour?
320.
320. So now you're telling me this is per deal, right? Now you're telling me that I can make $320 an hour and pay an admin $400. So I'm going to pay $400 out, but I got 20 hours of my time back. What am I going to do with that hours? What happens if I took 20 hours and invested that back into lead generation? Dollar producing activity. There are 5 things that are the dollar producing activities of a real estate agent. This is straight from Bold. It's lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating deals, and script practice. I'll say it again. Lead generation, following up with leads, so lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and script practice. By the way, if you're not doing those 5 things every day for at least an hour, you won't be successful. Don't mean to be so blunt. With love and respect. That's how my coach would put it. With love and respect, if you're not doing those 5 things every day for at least an hour, you're not going to hit your goals. And I'm so honest about this because, one, I care. And I want to take a stand for your business. But if you're not doing that, you're not taking a stand for your own business. So it doesn't matter that Wynn shows up every Monday and every Friday. There's nothing, and to take a stand for your business. If you don't do those things, you're not taking a stand for your own business. Therefore, unfortunately, you're not going to hit your goals, right? They're dollar producing activities. So we're at 3. Go ahead, Lynn.
I want to ask this a little bit. So we have right now the participants. You have Dominic, Lauren, and Jeremiah. Jeremiah is an individual agent. Lauren's on a team, right? Lauren, you're on a team, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
New but individual. So like once this has been driven home and there's like, and how do you help? So like Lauren can't make any decisions about her organization. She has to run it through her rainmaker first.
Yeah.
How does this apply to her in this? Like, it's a great series of numbers. I you know me, I'm more, I want to know how to like, what's the takeaway? And then you have 2 independent agents who are not necessarily getting started, but are still, catching traction. What is their trigger to know how they can begin? How do they know when their organization model goes to the next step or whatever?
Yep. So that's a great question. There's one thing that we always have control of. What is that?
What we do?
Yeah.
Ourselves?
What we choose to do. We always have control of what we choose to do. And what this is going to bring to light, and I'll do the one last piece. What this brings to light is why we go and build an organization, right? And that's the hard part about teaching the organizational model, because this is going to be very future based for the career development program, right? But it's not something we should skip, because it's the way that we're thinking moving forward. And by learning about that, then we can have better understanding of why we make the choices that we make on a daily basis. so that we can increase our dollar per hour and faster achieve our results at the end of the day, right? Because Lauren, although you don't have the option to go and hire an admin or TC or add different pieces to the puzzle from an organizational standpoint, you do have the choice to utilize the infrastructure and the resource that are a part of your world right now, like the transaction coordinator, right, in Jessica's business, to increase your dollar per hour. And then you have the opportunity to choose where you spend that extra time that you got back. Because as a buyer's agent, right, you make far more than what an individual agent would make based on the infrastructure that you're a part of. Because I'm going to keep on going real quick, because I don't want to take your time, Lynn. I know that I'm going to do this 2 minutes so that you can take it. I hope that did that kind of answer your question, Lynn?
Yeah, what I like and what sounds to me is the overall answer to not only that, like, is that the 3 people listening right now, you're never going to know what roadmap like, if you do want to eventually know how to have a team or an organization, you have to know where these numbers are, because they can hold your current business accountable. Because if you say, well, gosh, I'm not even close to making 320,
Yes.
but I want to get there, then I have to do the 5 things that you said. If you're not doing this, you're never going to get there. It's all in the same conversation. So even though it's a future plan, you don't get to the future without tomorrow's step. And so you have to start with that research today.
Have you ever gotten to where you wanted to go when you didn't know where you wanted to go?
No, you get somewhere, you just aren't in control of where that where is.
Exactly. So if I know that one day I'm going to sell 100 homes in real estate, and right now I'm selling 10, I have to appreciate the fact that I can't sell 100 homes by myself. I also have to appreciate that the organizational model shows me the path in which I can go and sell 100 homes. What this is really all about is opening our minds to the possibilities. And I think that's the action item when we're talking about in career development, the organizational model. It's not about today. This 30 minutes is about, where am I going? What are my choices? What's the impact of my choices right now? And what are my possibilities for the future? And by the way, this does not mean you should go and build a team. What it does mean is I should think about systems, tools, and people that I'm adding to my organization to increase my dollar per hour. So real quick, if I do $10,000 minus 400 minus 300, because I just hired a TC at $300 per transaction coordinator, which again is giving up the last piece of the non-dollar producing activities. I'm taking my 10,000 and I'm taking it down to how much? 9,300, right? But how many hours did I work now?
10.
You worked 10 hours. So if I do 9,300 and I divide that by 10 hours, how much did I make per hour?
$930.
$930. Unbelievable. Now, real quick, I'm going to do this one more time because I really want you to see this, Lauren. 10K. I'm no good at math, so I'm going to do 50-50, right? I know that the next dollar, now I only have 10 hours of the transaction left. The next aspect of the organizational model is to add a buyer's agent. So I'm going to add a buyer's agent, right? So now as the rainmaker, I've got 5K over here. And as the buyer's agent, I've got 5K over here. This is cool stuff. So I'm going to go over here to the rainmaker. Do they still have to pay on that 10K that was created? Do they still have to pay for the admin and the TC? They do. And that was $700. So what's 5,000 minus 700? 4,300, right? But how much hours did the rainmaker put into this transaction? Because they just hired a buyer's agent. That's
0.
Yeah. So
Maybe
what's the
like
dollar
1.
per hour? Maybe one or two to mentor, to train, to help, right? Because that's what they're there for. They made $4,300 per hour. They just made money and didn't do anything. That's beautiful. Here's the fun part. Here's the really fun part. Your split is 26%, right? 20% and 6%. Or if you're new to the career development program, it's 30 and 6%. On your team, but I'm going to just run this for you, Lauren, because this part's really dialed into you. This is 26%. So what is 74% of 5K? That means that's how much came to you. What's 74% of 5K? 5,000 times 0.74. 3,700, right?
Yeah.
How many hours did you work in this transaction?
Is this one that is being handed off to a transaction coordinator?
That was already paid for. So here's the key.
Oh.
You got, because I'm on a buyer's agent, I'm a buyer's agent on a team, the Rainmaker had to pay for all that infrastructure. As a buyer's agent, I still should think about my dollar per hour. Even though I'm only working 10 hours, I don't have to work these other 40 because I gave much of it up. Now your team structure is continuing to get built up, and this is different for every team. But say I only worked 10 hours in that transaction because the part of the value proposition of the team was the TC and admin or just TC, it still works, right? Maybe you were working 30 hours, it still works. But if I'm working 10 hours, what's my dollar per hour? 3,700 divided by 10. And oh, by the way, I paid 2 splits, $370 per hour. Is that more or less than an individual agent?
Yeah.
It's more. You got your time back. You paid for your time up front. So I want to wrap up. Any questions real quick? And I'm sorry when I went 6 minutes over. I hope this was valuable.
Can you record this or do it again?
Yeah, I think it is getting recorded, and I can absolutely do it again in person or not with this chicken scratch.
The chicken scratch was great.
Yeah, thank you. So here's the takeaways. Here's what I want everybody to take away. And when you can jump in here too. I want everybody to take away the possibility of the organizational model and how it gives us a plan to get our time back when we choose to get our time back. I also want everybody to understand that the key here is the choices that we make. We all have the opportunity to choose where we spend our time. Time, they don't come up with these goofy slogans for nothing, right? Time is precious. Time is our most precious asset. All these different slogans around time, right? They don't come up with that if they're not relatively true. Time really is the most precious thing that we have, our most precious asset, because it's really the only thing we get to decide. It's really the only thing that we get to truly choose how we spend it. We get to choose to put it into things that aren't going to develop dollar producing activities or not going to get us closer to our goals, right? We get to make that choice. So what I would say is make the choice, if you want, to spend time in the dollar producing activities, and understand that every time you do that, you're making $200 an hour, not 20. And what do I have to do in my business so that I can continue to earn more from a dollar per hour standpoint than less? So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to stop sharing. I hope this was helpful. I hope it opened our mind to thinking differently about where we can go and where we can progress in real estate, and how to think about what we're retaining, what our dollar per hour is as compared to what our big check is at the end of the day. Because here's the thing, if I made $10,000, but I spent $1,000 hours doing it, I got paid $10 an hour, right? I could go and do that a lot easier at the gas station, or do something that's not as hard on me, right? So if I'm spending a ton of time, but making the same amount of money, right, why put myself through that stress? So make the choice that's going to push you toward your result, toward your goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important part of this is that's why I like that these MREA series are just literally every 4 weeks, the same message, and then a repeat, and then a repeat, because it's always about the basics. And, you know, we have the 3 who are on it today are going to probably hear it again in another couple of months, whether it's exactly 4 weeks from now, it could be 8 weeks from now, but they're going to then still run what they're doing through this conversation. That's how you know you're still moving the ball up the court. Because even if you're not driven by the numbers, if you don't have to make a certain amount, you at least can say, oh, okay, but no matter what, I need to make sure that I'm spending my time and actually benefiting from it. Like showing up the CDP and just reporting your goals. That's why I keep telling people, that get you closer to an under contract scenario? Because it's just talk if we don't have activity, if you're serious about your career, right? Like if you're serious about being a real estate agent. So I feel like that it's just, that's why we have to keep doing the consistency of the CDP, is that to get people familiar with, there's no magic bullet. It's time on task over time. And
beats talent every time.
And then auditing all of that time every cycle, every 4 weeks, to make sure you're still on track. And that you didn't get distracted or veered off with business or whatever. So anyway.
When you couldn't be more correct, we complicate everything. Life wants to be complicated. Everything that we do, we want to complicate it. When in reality, simplicity is where success is found. Focus on the small things, the small daily consistent activities that I should do every day, even if I just spend an hour doing them, right? Those 5 things I talked about. Focus on those, because small consistent action creates massive results over time. I guarantee you, if you spent an hour and spoke with 20 individuals a day about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and write this question down: what are your real estate related goals next year? Right? If you ask that question 20 times to 20 different people every day, you will sell more than 20 homes a year. Guaranteed. And you will, and you'll have the opportunity to build whatever you want to build. So I'm off the soapbox, Lynn. You're awesome. I'm going to go enjoy Boston.
That was really good. I knew it took a little bit longer because you were having to like manage talking and your motor skills at the same time.
Which we know is a relatively difficult thing for me to do anyway. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
Exactly. All right. Well, have a safe trip home from Boston and enjoy your time there. Stay warm.
I will. See you, everybody.
All right, everybody. So we are still going to only go to 2:15, but with only 3 people, that should not be hard at all for us to kind of knock out our conversation. Before we go into my side of what we talk about, did anybody have some ahas from that as it applied to your week's goals? It's okay if not, like, meaning if you just absorbed a lot and you're still processing it, that's fine. I'll move forward. I just want to make sure that if you wanted to share something, you could, because like, Dominic, I'm still getting familiar with what his goals are and kind of how he's going to manage his real estate business. So if you did have an aha, I want you to tell me so I can keep harping on that over the next couple of weeks. But if you're like, I still need to think about it because I'm still processing it, we'll just talk about it next time. All right. So let me go, I'll share my screen, go to, hold on, let me get out of here. Let's go to the agenda and we'll go over what we're about to talk about as it relates to the CDP, what we do every time. And that is talk about what our weeks look like. Hold on 2 seconds. All righty. So today, as usual, we're going to talk about, what was your goal? Now, again, you don't have to repeat the actual goals to me because I give y'all some edits. Like when people will write me stuff, I will send back, I would suggest doing this, drill down a little bit further. So the what was your goal is just to make sure that you know what your goal was, right? Then the questions would be, how did you do? How do you feel about that? And then based on what you think you did or how you think you did, how does that affect next week's? So based on who's in the tier of my screen, Jeremiah, you can go first. Tell me about your week, how you think you did, and what we're looking for next week.
I'm calling it a win again. I haven't necessarily made any big progress
with lead generation or clients. But right now, my goals coming out of this COVID haze are to rejoin society and find my time management skills again. I've always time blocked, and I do kind of live and die by a calendar, but for the last year, I've kind of given myself a 15-hour workday instead of a 6-hour workday. So I've gotten slow and lazy about how fast I get things done. And I think now that I'm going to come out of the house, and my lead generation has to be social. I can't call people. It drives me bananas. I'm just going to go to the places that I fit in. I'm down to the yacht club, and I'm just going to be involved with people, shake babies and kiss hands, as we call it. And that's my mode. That's where I am. So I'm moving towards that.
What?
That's just where I am. That's what I'm moving towards. I'm getting more and more comfortable as possible with being back in public.
Okay, so can we do this? So that's a broad statement as far as I'm concerned, meaning as I'm hearing it, I hear a general approach, but why don't you, can you for next week identify maybe 3 buildings, right? Let's just keep it broad, but where are 3 buildings or 3 yards, wherever that social is for you? Can you identify 3 places where you know that you will walk in comfortably and be effective? Can you do that as part of your goal setting instead of, because saying, I'm gonna get out back in public, why don't we drill that down? Like maybe it's just going to Lowe's, right? Or something else. So identify maybe 3 buildings and then identify times of the day you're going to do them every day if your plan was to do it every day. If your plan was just to do it 6 hours a week, like 6 hours a week, I have to get out social, then find 2 in one day, 1 in the, you know what I'm saying? Maybe get used to, instead of saying, I'm just going to be social, be purposeful. I'm going to go to this building this many times a week for this amount of time. That's all I'm going to focus on next week. Let's see how I feel. I don't know if you have that in your head and just haven't shared it with me. But that's
I was just being vague in my description. Yeah, I have vectors in mind.
Perfect. Let's get those written down. Why don't you send those to me? Because the broad goal is social, normalcy, interacting. Now, let's make a line item of, and that's going to take place in this building at this time on this day of the week. So let's start there so that I can visualize what you're talking about and then ask you better questions. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. But I like it. I mean, if it's pushing you and getting you out of a comfort zone or into a comfort zone, all of that's good stuff. Let's just be specific. And then I know how to because here's the thing, if you go to do this stuff and if you go to do those things and you identified that one didn't work for you, we need to find out why and replace it with a different one. And that's why we stay on that goal, but it's baby steps to make sure you don't do it so much that you're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm out, that kind of thing.
Right.
But good, I like it. Okay, Lauren, you're next. You tell me, same questions. How did you do? How do you feel? What are we gonna do next week? And
So I didn't necessarily hit all 3 of my goals for exactly how I wanted to hit them. However, practicing having some grace with myself because I have 5 active buyers currently and my listing. So I'm right where I wanted to be, 2 months ago. And I'm supposed to have 4 new appointments every month.
Right.
I've had 2 now. And I got 2 of these 5 buyers under contract this week. So good things are happening. Real
Yeah.
estate is happening. It really, I know when we started this, it was either this or maybe in Ignite that I remember hearing, you know, you do all this plan, but you get the most of your like really good work done when there's action, I guess, like it coming out of necessity.
Right.
So I think that has definitely happened. There's some necessity to getting things done. I mean, that's how I ended up getting my listing presentation done, was because I had a listing. Finally got it done.
Good.
So I'm just making some discoveries on, I think, my 3 rocks. I had so many, I think I have too many lead gen things I'm trying to do all at once. So in combination with being on a team and having team leads. So kind of working to adjust my goals for next week and making sure that one of them is always new lead generation, and maybe having one that is more on the organizational side.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Based on everything that you're talking about right now, being an agent in your shoes, a buyer's agent, but I didn't ever work on a team like you did. There came a time, this is my honest cycle of my life with my team. Joseph and I would get busy and I would be really busy. And then when it all closed, I knew I was going to fall into, well, I don't have a lot of new leads, but I was so worn out and exhausted. I embraced a month of like, I'm not being pulled in 12 different directions, but because my husband he was having closings when I wasn't. So I had the luxury to be like, okay, I've just like closed a lot of volume and I am spent. Like, I can't talk to another person. So I could like take that month and be like, I don't want to stir up leads. I need a break. But I had the luxury of my income being bolstered by Joseph, right? So and I feel like he and I both kind of have done that. That's why we're not the greatest models and as it relates to the organization, because we never grew a team to what we see around us. But we had a balance. We actually chose to go to, our lives were not centered only in Keller Williams. It's still not. So like we would, you know, make sure we had a balance of the personal life. Okay. So there are no complaints, but I will be the first to say, I teach it, but we never really mastered it. However, I think that your new goals should take on that organizational look. A couple things. First and foremost, this is for anybody who's either on a team, thinking of being on a team, right? You need to make sure that you're auditing that what you're doing is also worth what you're either paying out, or Lauren, you're moving into possibly running it in a couple of years. So you need to learn it from a rainmaker's perspective, right? So while you're learning the business and learning how to be an agent on a team, you also need to watch and learn from her. Make sure she has the proper organizational model. Like, not saying I don't know anything about it, hers, but what I'm saying is you have this mind that is so brilliant in that regard. You can do those numbers and then say, listen, I'd like to add a meeting to our current meetings. And it's about more of like, here's where I think we could be actually making a little bit more of a, whatever the word is, a little bit more net for our time based on the organizational model. So I'm not telling you to go challenge her, but what I mean is you need to learn a lot for both now. Now, if Jeremiah and Dominic one day wanted to be on a team, then they're going to learn the organizational side of it, to say, okay, if one day if I don't have a spouse who's balancing my income, then I need to make sure that I have the organizational model down pat, so that when I get to my 5 and 6 buyers at a time, I don't embrace the month, because then I'm missing a mortgage payment. So that is just real smart for no matter where the 3 of you are, and you're all in good places. To just be aware of that. So I agree with you, Lauren, that I think that if you're currently really covered up in active business and you're trying to get people under contract, scale back a little bit of the lead generating as long as your team leader lets you, and then try to focus maybe on how to systematize these 5 or 6 in a way that you can now do 7 or 8 next cycle because you have less learning curve because you learned it with the 5 or 6. That's what I would say. That's where I went from being overwhelmed with 1 or 2 buyers to being able to do 6 or 7 without a problem because they were all stuck in that system. I just had to go look where they were and then I could just keep it going, right? If that helps.
Yeah, no, that definitely helps. I was really, I was trying to focus on, I want to bring in all my own leads, and I did. What the listing is my own lead, not from the team. So I was focused on that, which is great, but I can't do 3 different forms of lead gen of all my own and then take on all the leads that I'm getting from the team. That's why I joined a team. And I think getting that follow-up piece, that organization piece, making sure things don't fall through the cracks is way more important at this stage than the new business, or they're just going to fall apart.
Well, and that's the thing is I think the hardest part as a real estate agent for all 3 of us to hear, all 4 of us to hear, is you have to sometimes step away from 1 or 2 business leads, because if you don't fix your system, they're all going to get lost for a full year. But let's say you step away from 1 or 2 in a 2-week period and say, you know what? I didn't follow up with those people and I'm going to let it go and move on, because while I didn't follow up with them, my system now is like gangbusters. So next time a lead comes, I won't slip up because the system got put into place. So you have to know and be comfortable with sometimes you're going to miss business to make sure you can do long-term business, and just learn to live with that. And then you'll go make that up, because once you get your system in place and you're done with that work, then you can go do all the lead generating because you can throw them all in their system. So follow up is huge. So good. I like that. It sounds like today was really good for you to really streamline your focus properly to do the right things next week and not feel like you're dropping the ball. You're not. You're just kind of staying focused in a pattern and honing in on it. And that's a good thing. All right, Dominic, tell us a little bit about you. You had sent me your rocks. I gave you some suggestions. I also suggested maybe to have a signature on your email. I want to make sure everybody knows that, like, it's so easy to just have your like sent from my iPhone and stuff, but I feel like it's important that you have your name, your phone number, your email, your website in your app, because your email can be a way of branding yourself. So Dominic, tell us where you are with some of the things we emailed about this week.
I have my same email, just not that email. It's my Williams one.
Can y'all hear him? I think your volume might be really low.
Can you hear me?
That's a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, I have my email, my secret. It's not that email. It's my Say Williams one. I was able to complete all my rock.
Dominic.
Yeah.
I really can't hear you well. What are you doing right now?
Let me see if you can hear me better from my iPad.
I'm hearing something that's like repeating itself. A clock, maybe. Hey, Dominic, are you trying to work on the volume? Is that what we're waiting on?
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it.
Okay, I don't know what to do right now.
Maybe you can put it in the chat.
It really sounds like he has something just covering his mic.
Yeah.
Like a hand or a
case or something. I thought he said he was moving over to an iPad.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, I don't know how long I'll wait though. Here, I'll stop share. All right, let me go to the chat. Yeah, Dominic, can you type? Okay. While we're waiting, and Dominic, hopefully you can hear me. If you can't get that to work, you and I can set up a one-on-one to make sure we do this for you. It doesn't have to be in the group setting. Yeah, I can't chat. Like, okay. All right, so here's the deal. Dominic, you and I are going to close the loop on this because I want to help you. So why don't you send me an email of maybe we can have like a 15-minute phone call over the weekend, and I'll make sure that I nail all this with you to get your week started properly, because I don't want technology to mess up keeping you on track. But the good news is you had 3 rocks, you sent them to me. I gave you some suggestions. I'm sure they were helpful. And then I'll follow up with an email to make sure we stay on track for you. Okay. So because there are only 3 of us, we didn't have, it's not going to take as long as 2:15. So if everyone feels good about what we did today and we want to wrap up, let's do that. But I want to make sure that we've covered everyone's bases. Everyone feels good about what they're going to send me for next week. And as usual, if you'd like some one-on-one chat about that, you know how to reach me. So Lauren abandoned us. And so Jeremiah, are you good?
I'm wonderful. My life has tripled in comfort since my COVID vaccine on Monday. I'm excited about where we're moving from here.
Okay, good. So I'm excited to hear from you as it relates to just a little bit what your vectors, like you said, telling me what that's going to look like this week. Lauren, you're going to send me probably some updated rocks as it relates to your systems. And then Dominic, you and I will figure out a time to chat on the phone over the weekend. So I hope that everyone has an awesome weekend and that this was a helpful day. And look forward to seeing y'all next week. All right.
Cool. Yeah.
Bye. Have a good